I'm about to give my rankings for the James Bond actors from worst to best, and I'm doing so as a fan who's loved the 007 movies since the VHS days. I love every single one of these guys, they're all legends, and I respect them, and I'm not blaming any of them for the occasional bad script that they were handed. This ranking is about their performances, their portrayals, and how they embodied 007, not just the qualities of the movies themselves. I'm factoring in their charisma, their take on Bond's essence, and how they carried the role through sometimes shaky material. I love all of them, but somebody has to be last. So let's get started. Coming in at last place at number 6, George Lazenby. Look, George Lazenby is the underdog of the Bond world, and I respect the guy for stepping into Sean Connery's shoes with zero acting experience. That took some real cojones. Lazenby was a male model who bluffed his way into MI6. Impressive. The guy wasn't even British, he's Australian. In On Her Majesty's Secret Service in 1969, he's raw, earnest, and surprisingly vulnerable. Especially that gut punch ending where Bond's new wife Tracy gets killed, Lazenby's got the physicality for the role too. Those fight scenes are brutal, and he looks quite capable as a British assassin. But, bless his heart, he's stiff as a board in the suave department. His charm feels forced, like he's reading cue cards at a tuxedo fitting. He's trying, and you can see his potential, but he lacks the effortless cool that defines James Bond. It's not entirely his fault. He got one shot with a script that leaned heavily into the romance, but he's outclassed by the others. Still, I've got a soft spot for Lazenby because he took a swing and didn't totally whiff. I feel bad ranking him last. On Her Majesty's Secret Service was a good movie. If he'd done another film or two, he probably would have found his groove. The guy quit before Diamonds Are Forever because he thought his acting career would be too limited had he stuck with James Bond. Talk about a plot twist. Lazenby's Bond is a fascinating what if, but it's the weakest of the bunch. Not because he's bad, but because the others are just that good. Still, props for crying on screen. That takes guts to make Bond look that human. Number 5. Timothy Dalton. Timothy Dalton is often overlooked. He's the dark horse, he's the brooding Welshman who tried to carry Bond back to Ian Fleming's gritty roots, and I salute him for it. He tried to do Daniel Craig before Daniel Craig. In The Living Daylights 1987 and in License to Kill 1989, he's a serious, intense Bond. Less quips, more scowls. He's personally offended by the villain's existence. Timothy Dalton's Bond feels like a real spy haunted by the body count and ready to go rogue, especially in License to Kill, where he's out for blood, a precursor to movies like Taken. His chemistry with the camera is raw, and those piercing eyes could melt steel. He's not here for the gadgets or the camp, and that's refreshing after some of the sillier Roger Moore era stuff. But here's the thing. Timothy Dalton is so serious, he sometimes forgets to have fun. These movies are supposed to be fun adventure films. Bond needs a dash of swagger, a twinkle in his eye, a wink at the audience, and Dalton is too busy furrowing his brow to deliver that. And the scripts he was given didn't help. The Living Daylights is solid but safe and a bit inconsistent, and License to Kill was good but very dark, and it alienated a lot of fans who wanted martinis, not revenge. It was Miami Vice meets Death Wish. Personally, I love License to Kill. I think it's one of my favorite movies of all time, not just favorite Bond movie, but one of my favorite movies, period. You can see my thoughts on that movie on this channel. Timothy Dalton is a fantastic actor, and his commitment to Ian Fleming's vision is noble and notable. However, he's a touch dour for a full Bond experience. Still, he's criminally underrated, and I wish he would have had more movies. I would love to have seen The Property of a Lady, the doomed third Timothy Dalton outing that almost happened. Number 4. Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig's Bond is a freight train in a tuxedo. He got his own self-contained universe, which makes his Bond somewhat unique. Starting with Casino Royale in 2006, he redefined 007 as a blunt instrument, gruff and physical and emotionally raw. At one point in Casino Royale, he kills a person after a hand-to-hand brawl that was just brutal. Afterward, he goes to the restroom to wash off the blood, and with a trembling hand slams back some whiskey to calm his nerves. We've never had moments like that in any previous 007 film, and Craig just nails the performance. His Bond bleeds, loves, breaks, especially in Skyfall and No Time to Die where he's grappling with his past. Craig's got his magnetic intensity, and those blue eyes are a weapon. And he's the first Bond who feels like he really could exist in our world. His athleticism in the chase scene in Casino Royale was excellent. The train sequence in Skyfall was great. He carries even the weaker films like Quantum of Solace with sheer grit. That said, Daniel Craig's Bond is a bit too brooding and intense, a lot like Timothy Dalton. His movies leaned hard into the angst, and he somewhat forgot that Bond is supposed to enjoy his job. Where's the smirk? Where's the charm? Where's the one-liners? Where's the fun? Spectre and No Time to Die pile on the melodrama, and while Craig sells it, he really does, I miss the lighter touch. Daniel Craig is phenomenal, but his era is relentlessly dark, and that puts him just below top tier. Still, the man made James Bond relevant again, and Skyfall is one of the best Bond movies ever made. And for that, I'd buy him a Vesper Martini any day. On second thought, considering how much money the studio paid him for that final outing, maybe he can buy the drinks. We're halfway through the list. I just want to pause for a brief moment to let you know that my novels Judas Kissed, Becoming Quincy, and Death Siren are on Amazon.com, and you can visit me on social media, links in the description below. Visit ericwilfordwatson.com for more information on my books. Number 3. Roger Moore. Roger Moore, you glorious bastard, you're the smoothest operator ever to sip a martini, and I love you for it. From Live and Let Die, 1973, to A View to a Kill, 1985, Moore's Bond is pure charm, with a raised eyebrow that could defuse a bomb. He's the king of the one-liner, tossing quips like grenades, while looking like he just stepped out of a tuxedo advertisement. Roger Moore's got this self-aware twinkle. He knows that Bond is a little bit ridiculous, and he leans into it and takes it seriously at the same time. Whether he's skiing off a cliff in The Spy Who Loved Me, romancing Grace Jones in A View to a Kill, he's even good in the clunkers like Live and Let Die, my least favorite 007 movie by far. My knock on Roger Moore is that he's a little bit too campy and a little bit too light for Ian Fleming's cold-blooded assassin spy. But even so, he brought warmth and humor to James Bond, making him a guy you'd want to have a drink with. Sure, the scripts got silly, but Roger Moore sells every second of it with that velvet voice and impeccable style. He's not Sean Connery's brute or Daniel Craig's brawler. He's elegant. He's timeless. He's an excellent 007. He got to do 7 films, and the man never broke a sweat. He's a legend. He is deserving of all kinds of accolades. In the early 1990s, before GoldenEye, I binged-watched all of these movies on VHS decades before binge-watching was a term. It was actually his 007 that made me fall in love with the franchise and made me want to read Ian Fleming's books and the subsequent novels published by other authors. For that, I am grateful to Roger Moore. He is a great James Bond and made the most Bond movies of anybody, so congratulations to him for that. Number 2. Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan started making James Bond movies when I was a teenager, so it was this James Bond that I first saw on the big screen, so I have a soft spot for this era of James Bond. He's near perfection. It's almost as if Pierce Brosnan was grown in a lab specifically to play James Bond. From GoldenEye 1995 to Die Another Day 2002, he's the ultimate blend of Connery's suaveness, Moore's charm, with a modern edge that took Bond into the 21st century. Brosnan just looks like Bond. He's a lethal weapon and he looks great in the role, even though he's technically Irish, not British. He exuded wit and heart, especially in The World Is Not Enough, where he's generally torn over Elektra. No, not that Elektra. Unfortunately, each Pierce Brosnan Bond movie was a little bit worse than the last, and the final movie, Die Another Day, with its invisible car, was just off the charts ridiculous. Yet Pierce Brosnan's magnetic presence holds it all together even when he's given horrible lines and clunky dialogue. The only reason he's not number 1 is he didn't quite nail the landing. He started to get silly. The Saved by the Bell pun, that was just a bit much. He was beginning to get even sillier than Roger Moore's Bond at Roger Moore's silliest, and that's not a good thing. GoldenEye is a masterpiece, an absolute masterpiece. But his later films got bogged down. Still, he's the Bond I first saw in the theater, and he just looks the part more than any other actor. He's the guy you want at the casino table, charming the socks off of anyone while disarming a nuke. Pierce Brosnan is just great. I wish he had more than 4 Bond films, but after the 4th one was as silly as it is, it's good that they rebooted the franchise. But even with all those critiques that hold him back from being number one, I think Pierce Brosnan was excellent as James Bond. I truly do. Number 1. Sean Connery. Is anyone actually surprised by this? If I had picked anyone else as the top spot, I would be excommunicated from the 007 fandom. Sean Connery is James Bond, full stop. The original, the blueprint, the guy who made 007 a global icon in Dr. No 1962 and kept rolling through Diamonds Are Forever in 1971. Connery's Bond is a force of nature, smooth as silk, tough as nails, with a Scottish growl that could make any henchman wet their pants. He was so perfect that Ian Fleming retroactively made Bond a Scotsman in his book On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Sean Connery's got it all. The swagger in Goldfinger, the menace in From Russia with Love, the charm in Thunderball, every line, every glance, every punch feels like James Bond was born in Connery's bones. He even makes the weaker films like You Only Live Twice watchable. He's untouchable, he's unflappable, he's perfect. Sean Connery invented cool. Sure, some say Sean Connery's Bond is a bit too much of a 1960s macho relic, but that's nonsense. He's timeless. Balancing ruthlessness and charm, he's set the standard for every other Bond that followed. He's the guy you'd follow into a volcano lair without a second thought. When I close my eyes and picture James Bond, he's always going to look like Sean Connery with his smirk, with his strut, with his Bond. James Bond. Nobody said it better, nobody ever will. Bow down to the king. So there you have it, my ranking of the James Bond actors. What do you think? Am I nuts for putting George Lazenby in last place? What's your favorite James Bond? How would you rank these actors? And how much do you think Amazon is going to screw up the next 007 movie? And thank you for joining me. I'm Eric Wilfred Watson, and I'll see you in the next one.